Welcome back to Dean's Pool Tips. We're here at Hollywood Billiards in the VIP room, and we just went over some basics: how to approach the table, hold the pool cue, tighten up on the bridge, and execute the shot. Now I'd like to go back to the beginning of the game and show you how to break the balls. Before we get into breaking the balls, I'd like to talk a little bit about cue selection. We don't want to break the balls with our shooting cue, thus we might damage it, and it does have a softer tip. As you notice, I have a breaking cue here. This is actually a jump break cue. The bottom comes off for jumping, and it's also a breakaway. This stick has a phenol type tip surface, which is hard as a rock, and it's made out of ceramic material. When I hit the cue ball with this tip, I'm going to get a much harder hit on the break. Before breaking the balls, inspect your rack. If your opponent does not rack the balls correctly, in this case, it's off the dot and it's got about a 5-degree angle on the rack, I can ask my opponent to re-rack the balls and start the game. For some of you novice pool players out there who don't play the game very often but want to know some of the rules about breaking, there are some illegal breaks, and you do have to hit the balls for it to even be considered a break. If the cue ball goes past the break and you miss it altogether, it's not declared a shot at all. The game has not started, and your opponent has to wait for you to break again. If you come off the rail behind the rack and hit it like that, that is not considered a legal break. I'd like to talk a little bit about where to hit the rack and where to hit the cue ball. This is going to be a straightforward break, hitting the one ball dead on and keeping the cue ball on the table. The first thing we want to do is have the cue ball not too far out and not too far in. The first point position right here is just about perfect, and with your hand on the rail and Q-tip dead center on the cue ball. Give yourself about 5 to 6 strokes before you hit the break. Make sure you're dead center so you don't knock the cue ball off the table. The best thing in pool is having a quick win. That means if you break the balls and the 8-ball flies into a pocket without scratching the cue ball, you win the game. This next break isn't quite as safe as the first break because there's a chance that the cue ball could go off the table or go into the far corner pocket. Want to be careful not to drive the cue ball from the 10-ball position into the corner pocket. We went over earlier how to use English on the cue ball. We're going to use a little bottom left-hand English on the cue ball, thus hitting the 10-ball, driving the cue ball into early rail, and hopefully knocking that 8-ball out of the center. 8-ball in the side pocket. Nope, didn't quite go. As you notice, after that break, the 8-ball came straight out of the rack, possibly making it into the side pocket. Sometimes they call this an 8-ball break.